everyone. Welcome all to the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast. If you like going off-roading in Toyotas, wrenching on Toyotas, camping in Toyotas, maybe poking a little bit of fun at Toyotas, and of course, hearing about how fun it is to wheel the Rubithon and a poker run out on Slick Rock in Toyota Land Cruisers, then this is the podcast for you. Welcome, everybody. I am Jimmy Jet, and sitting with me today in the virtual studio are two of my good friends. I have them on mute right now, even though they're screaming and yelling at me. Actually, one of them, I think, just got up and left. I'll figure out what's going on there here in a second. But today we have a fun conversation for you. As you guys know, I have not really been off-roading very much because I'm concentrating on getting my house done for our big move. I'm supposed to be down in Big Bear with Tyler right now, but I had to cancel on them just because there's so much to do on the house that I was getting a little nervous that it wasn't going to get done. And I stayed home these last few days and just been concentrating on the house. And good news is that I'm finally catching up to where I think I should be, getting everything ready. Now I really have to pack the other house so we can actually move. But anyways, besides my life going on, which doesn't have anything in regarding trucks, Toyotas, or off-roading at this current moment, I did invite some friends onto the podcast that have been doing some off-roading. So we will have some off-roading talk for you guys today. But before we get to them, I would like to do a little bit of housekeeping just real quick. As you guys know, we got the gear wrench giveaway going on this month. We've got the bolt biter set that we're giving away, the screw extractor set, and the ratcheting T-handle kit that we're giving away. All of that comes out to be roughly around $200, $200+. And if you want to get some tools, then you can go over to irate4x4.com. If you're on a desktop, you go down to that. Well, either way, if you're whatever device you're on, you go to scroll down to the watch, listen, and discuss section, Snail's Trail 4x4 podcast. And then from there, if you're on the desktop, on the right side, you will see the sign up options. And if you're on a mobile at the bottom, you will find those sign up options. In regards to signing up on Irate 4x4, do remember that the gift box tier is opening next month. We are just finalizing all the stuff for the gift boxes going out here this week. Everything now also falls down onto me and doing some work to get that box out on time. So I've got a few additional things on my plate besides getting the house done. So if you're interested in getting a gift box, then you need to switch over, sign up, or you can even leave the tier if you choose to in the month of October. And that really does fall all onto you guys. This is a little bit more complicated system because it's all done through PayPal. So if you do want to change your tier, you need to go onto PayPal and then you need to cancel your current subscription. And then you go back onto Irate 4x4 and you sign up for the subscription that you do want to sign up for the next session. So hopefully you guys are going to love the gift box that's coming out. I've sampled and dabbled in some of the items in the gift box in this episode, even though I don't talk about it. And I do think this might be the best gift box that we have handed out yet so far. So I'm excited for that. And I'm excited for the next one coming out because we already have some of the product in and we're happy to share that with others out there. One additional item on the docket that I can recall is the Moose Knuckle group buy ends at the end of this month. So if you want to get in for that group buy, 30% off of all Moose Knuckle products, you can go onto their website, figure out what stuff you want to buy, and then send Tyler or me an email, Tyler or Jimmy at snailtrail4x4.com, and give us a very detailed description of what you want because they have so many color options. If you just say, oh, hey, I want some jowls, then we won't know which ones you want. But if you need to, or what you need to do is you need to specify the color and the type that you want. And then we'll get all that together and then we'll start the group buy from Moose Knuckle. And yeah, once again, that's super awesome of them to help us out and give us some great, fantastic recovery gear, and at a stellar price at 30% off. So big thanks to Moose Knuckle. Big thanks to Gear Wrench for the giveaway this month. And big thanks to all you guys out there listening and continuing to support the podcast. Well, all right. I say we jump right into the podcast here. I do have some of my friends that have come back to the studio. Thanks for showing back up after walking away. I don't know why you walked away there for a second. But we did hear Tyler's stories of Rubithon, and Kermit's first trip going out there. But, both Tyler and I were supposed to be helping out and leading the 4Runner mini truck run. And we had some friends sign up for that run, and then we didn't show up for it. So I wanted to hear their experience going to Rubithon, doing the 4Runner mini truck run, how everything went, and their experience or their first time really at Rubithon and what they thought of the event. And then the following weekend, they went out to Slick Rock and they did the Joaquin Jeepers Poker run out there and had some little bit of carnage. So I wanted to hear their stories in regards to that as well. And I hope you guys enjoy their stories because they're two hilarious guys. One of them, we've talked about him quite a bit. The other one we have talked about on the podcast before, but now you actually get to hear his voice. Without further ado, why don't everybody go grab a quick drink, grab your favorite snack food for sitting around a campfire, enjoy some stories of us talking about Rubithon and the poker run out at Slick Rock.
Do you want to put a Super Duty axle under a 4Runner or an FJ80 axle under a mini truck? At 4-Wheel Underground, we've designed and engineered the fitment, durability, predictability, and drivability for just about any axle you want to put under a Toyota off-road vehicle. Start your adventure with our suspension builder page over at 4wheelunderground.com.
Welcome back, everybody, to a fun, random discussion with some people that have been off-roading since I definitely have not been. Let's see. We've got two people in the remote studio today. One of them you guys know for sure. The other one you guys do know. You just probably have never really heard his voice, though he did say that he's never really been on a podcast, but I do have proof that he has been on partially once, and that was the glue tread episode. So Lee Lim is here today. Lee, you just filled your mouth with some food, so I'll move over to the other guy. We've got Nick from the Gladiator on 29s. Nick, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man, no problem. I'm happy you were able to join us. I think you're going to bring some fun stories to the podcast today. Lee, so. You done chewing over there? You want to say hi to everybody?
Hello, everybody.
Good job. Very straightforward. I'm proud of you on that one. Oh, man. Lee, always the joker.
I'm happy to be here.
Let's see. You guys have been wheeling a lot more than I have. I should be off in Big Bear right now actually doing some wheeling, but I'm concerned that I wasn't going to get the house done in time. So I stayed home, unfortunately, to some extent. I'm sure the wife is happy about the fact that I'm concentrating on the house more than off gallivanting around. But
you're so responsible, an adult.
Oh, I try. Yeah. Sometimes I do well. Sometimes I fail miserably. Yeah, I needed to find some people that have been off-roading so we could talk about some off-roading content. And I got you guys because you both have been wheeling pretty much the last 2 weekends together, which is a lot of fun. And so we've got some fun stories coming up from Rubithon, some different points of views than what Tyler has told us about. We also have some carnage updates, and then we have Slick Rock stories that's out there for everybody. Before we do, I want to introduce Nick a little bit more. Why don't you tell us about some of the rigs you have, because you do have some fun rigs out there, and maybe you can start with your famous Tacoma, and then we'll end with that shitty the heap one.
So my name is Nick DeLuca. I go by Mademan925 on Instagram. I started off with a Tacoma. It was a 2-wheel drive Tacoma. It was black, and quickly realized I wanted 4-wheel drive. So I got a white Tacoma in about 2013 and started posting on Instagram. It kind of blew up. And I ended up building it into a crazy long travel truck with a Tundra steering rack and a Dana 60 rear end. And it goes really fast in the desert. And I tried to rock crawl with it for a very long time, but eventually just admitted that it was just breaking stuff every time I was rock crawling in an IFS Tacoma. It didn't matter what I did. And I wanted to go solid axle. And I ended up buying a Land Cruiser beginning of 2020. And I rebuilt the entire truck for the last 3 years and finished it about a month and a half ago, with still some wheeling season left this year. And I've gotten it out on the trail as much as possible and broken some stuff, fixed some stuff, redesigned some stuff. But it's a Land Cruiser on 38s. It's got chrome ollie axles, 488 gears. I regeared the T-case. It's got bead locks. It's got hydro assist. It's got a bunch of beefy parts on it. I painted it myself. I did all the door locks and window regulators, and I reupholstered the seats, and I rebuilt the engine with my friend Max. And the truck has been completely rebuilt basically since I got it, except for the transmission. It's the only thing I haven't really touched. And we've just been getting it out on the trail, and it's been really crushing it. And so just really proud of what it's done so far this year. During the build of it, it did take so long. I did buy a Jeep just because there was an opportunity for a Jeep that was pretty well built, at least appeared pretty well built, for a decent price. And it had been on the show LA's Finest with Jessica Alba. And I ended up buying it and having to rebuild the whole truck pretty much. But now it works off-road, and we took it off-road a lot last year, and we're really happy with it. But this year was all about the Land Cruiser, getting it out. So my friend Eric at Relentless finished the armor. And as soon as the armor was done, we took it straight to Fordyce, and it kind of broke there, and it was sad, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah, that's fine. I think we kind of hinted to it on one of our previous podcasts about how you let your wife do one of the maiden voyages, and then it wouldn't actually engage the 4-wheel drive, but she was able to wheel down windshield 5, 4, and 3 and to the river on Fordyce in all-wheel drive.
That's exactly what happened. We literally buttoned up the truck like a day or two before she left, and she took it. We crossed our fingers, and she hit the trail, and I had clocked the actuator motor to the gear incorrectly. So the 4-wheel drive was engaging just enough to light the dash for 4-wheel drive, but not enough to actually engage the 4-wheel drive. So she had front and rear lockers, all-wheel drive, went all the way downhill on Fordyce, down 5, 4, 3, turned around to come back up, and it wouldn't go back up in all-wheel drive. So she ended up actually blowing the all-wheel drive gears doing that, but we didn't figure that out till later.
Oh, man. That's horrible. Yeah. Well, it just goes to show how much gravity can really help you down that trail.
Pretty much.
And something you didn't mention, but wasn't your Tacoma Tacoma World blog truck of the year or something like that?
It was build of the year in 2014 and 2015, back-to-back Tacoma World build of the years, back when they used to do a real big celebration and they used to give out awards and it had sponsors. It was kind of a big deal back in the day. Since then, that kind of went away and they don't really do it anymore. But yeah, I won back-to-back years, which means I rebuilt the truck in between those 2 years. And it's actually had probably 7 revisions over time, and I'm not done.
All right. You actually going to try to rock crawl this thing, or are you now just going as a go fast rig?
I think it's going to go towards a go fast rig, if not a Rebel rig. My wife raced in the Rebel last year, and I think that's going to be the direction the truck goes. Spring under, long range fuel tank, and a really fancy odometer is kind of the direction that truck's going to go. And so she can return to the Rebel and probably get top 10. I think that's the goal.
Cool. That'll be fun. We'll have to get her on the podcast for sure. I know that we were talking about it when they were closing out the Rebel last year, and we were going to try to get them on, but maybe if she is going to do it, maybe we'll grab her and have her come on just before she starts and help her get some sponsors if possible.
Yeah, we're saving our pennies. It's about 20 grand for her to race, so she'll get the race in a couple of years. We got to build the truck for it, and we got to start saving money.
There you go. How about you, Lee? Do you have any new rigs in your future?
No. It's only upgrades to this one, so that maybe I can have as big as tires as Nick someday.
What are you on, 35s?
Yeah. Seems small these days.
It's because it is.
Aw.
Sorry to tell you.
Oh. Well, I'll keep hitting rocks with my little tires.
There you go. You mean keeping in the rocks with your diffs?
Yes, sometimes. When I follow Tyler, things get bad.
Yes, that makes sense, especially with his new rig, because you can't follow the same line as him.
Not at all. He is now useless to me.
I'll get back on that trail soon, and then we can go have some fun.
Perfect.
Cool. Well, let's talk about some trail stuff. I know you guys both went to Rubithon this year, Toyota Land Cruisers Association. You guys went in actual Land Cruisers, which is kudos to you guys. If I owned one, I would take it to that event as well.
You will soon, I hope.
The fun thing about this, yeah, I hope so too. That would be awesome. The fun thing about this is it was both of your guys' first times to Rubithon. So, Nick, why don't you give us just a very quick overview before we go into any details? What did you think of the event?
I thought the event was nice. Just the amount of rigs there is impressive. And I know I haven't done like a Jeepers Jamboree or anything, but just to see that many trucks make it through the trail with relatively little issues, and the event find and source parts for people that did have issues, along with preparing a fancy meal for us, and then also doing a big raffle and just all the money going towards Marlin. It was good. It was just good to hang out with people. And I think it was funny the fact that we were technically on the 4Runner mini truck run in Land Cruisers. I mean, we didn't really catch them until we were halfway through the trail, but we'll get to that. But yeah, we wanted to hang out with you guys, and so we signed up for the 4Runner mini truck run, and we brought Land Cruisers.
Yeah, and neither Tyler or I was there for the actual run part of that event. Yeah, so how about you, Lee? What were your overview thoughts on the event overall?
It's a fantastic event. It's cool to see another event that's more local than Cruise Moab, to see that many Land Cruisers in one place and doing, an epic trail, and the amount of organization and the ability to get things fixed if needed to, like diffs and whatnot that got fixed is always fun to watch, and to see the amount of things that get fixed on the way in. So it's a cool event, and I was happy to finally make it. Yeah,
I'm glad you're able to take my spot. The differences between Rubithon and Cruise Moab are quite vast, because at Cruise Moab, you kind of use the Moab as a hub, and every day you kind of go out to different trails or go in different spots as you want. You can go on different trail runs. You can hang out in town, but then they all kind of get together at the one event center, where Rubithon is everybody comes to the Rubicon and runs the Rubicon and ends up at Rubicon Springs, and you're there. And it's pretty much kind of could be a 4-day event for some people. It's 2 to 3 days typically for most people, but it is neat to see everybody that comes from all over with, every type of rig come to the Rubicon to support the Toyota Land Cruiser Association. So yeah, I do think it's really neat, but it is kind of neat also the differences in the two events. And I know they do a whole bunch of other events, but I haven't been. Those are the only two I've ever been to. So why don't you tell us, Lee, why don't you start us off with your trek in and tell us how things went for you?
Well, the trek in was definitely interesting. So the 4Runner group leaves, I think it was it's supposed to leave at Thursday morning at like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. So we planned 7 a.m. Okay, so we planned on getting up there, and I also coordinated with Dave from Delta to meet, so we could all meet together and camp at night. And we ended up meeting on the way in before going up the hill up Ice House Road Wednesday night at probably around 9 o'clock or so, right off of Ice House. So made it most of the way up Ice House, and we're about half an hour away, and then my radiator exploded.
It exploded?
Yes.
Was it like when you passed Tyler on the side of the road?
No, because he caused that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yours literally exploded.
Yeah. So the bottom tank burst from pressure, and I think I did that. The radiator I was using, the radiator cap is a little different, and I kind of modified it, and I think it was
JB welded it.
I added a little spacer and so I don't think it was able to release pressure as the radiator cap is supposed to. I think it's at like 0.9 bar or something like that, or 13 pounds. And I don't think it was able to, because I was losing other radiator hoses, like small radiator hoses before that. Like little bypass hoses would blow here and there. I get leaks here and there, which should have told me what was happening. But it didn't, and it exploded. So then you call the crew at 10 o'clock at night, and that included Nick.
9:50. It was 9:50.
All right, so it was close to 10. Called Nick, messaged Tyler, and found a radiator at a O'Reilly's or something like that in Sacramento, and got all that coordinated. Pulled the radiator, pulled it in, swapped it in. Nick picked it up, or Tyler picked it up at the store, and then left it out in front since Tyler wasn't coming in for a little bit, and it was on Nick's way. Nick picked it up, brought it up. Nick woke me up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. So swapped it in, and that's why we were late to meet with the rest of the group, which actually turned out to be pretty cool. It was nice to run in a small group with Dave and Nick through everything, since I know both of them, and I know that they're both, at the time I didn't know how capable Dave was going to be through the trail, but I knew that his mindset was very capable for getting through the trail, which is more important, I believe. So we met up late with the group, and there was actually another guy there whose Forerunner wouldn't start. His ignition coil was loose or something like that. He figured it out later. But yeah, so we met up with the group a little late, and then just kind of rolled in from there. No, we didn't have any real issues rolling in after that.
So it was just the three of you, Dave and Nick and you, that wheeled in from Loon Lake?
Yeah, for the most part. So what had happened is his radiator had blown at like 9:50 at night. And the reason that was important is because the O'Reilly's AutoZone next to me closed at 10. And so we were trying to find the radiator like nearby within 10 minutes so I could go get it. But all the stores around me closed at 10. So my wife, Lisa, is actually the one that found a radiator that fit the 97 Land Cruiser in stock in Sacramento. It was 10 minutes from my brother's house, and they were going to close at 11. I told Lee, you want me to have my brother go get it? He's like, no, I'm going to have Tyler do it. So Tyler went and did it, and we just left the house. We were supposed to leave at 2:30 in the morning, and we just left the house at 2. And we went and picked up the radiator from Tyler, and then, we got to Lee about 6. He already had the old radiator out. We threw the new radiator in real quick, and we headed down the hill, and we were worried that the wagon run was going to be queued up. We were just going to drive around them. So we kind of flew by there, didn't even air down, didn't even throw the trucks in four-wheel drive or lock the hubs. We started the trail open and drove up the granite and started heading down, and we had already caught a Forerunner that wasn't running. So
wow.
We ended up catching the rest of the group on the other side of the Granite Bowl, but we were having such a good time. We just kind of let them go. So it was really just, Dave, Lee, and my wife Lisa was driving, and we just kind of had our own run all the way to Little Sluice, pretty much. And I think we had a blast. We took a bunch of photos. We just kind of took our own time. We didn't have any issues. We picked great lines. Nobody got stuck. Nothing went wrong. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, a small group on the Rubicon is always a good time. I mean, you're not waiting for a lot of people. You're not being held up. The smaller groups are easier to maneuver around larger groups, or, wait for the larger groups to go past. But most of this case, everybody's headed into the Springs, or at least Buck, depending on where that wagon group was going.
Yeah.
So where did you guys actually air down?
When we caught the broken Forerunner at the top of the granite, we aired down.
Okay. What did you say, Lee?
No, I was going to say, yeah, it's nice wheeling in a small group of people that and the camaraderie is just very different. The conversation over the radio is very different when you know each person intimately.
Absolutely. How much wheeling experience does Dave have on something like the Rubicon? 0, very low. I know Dave has wheeled out in Moab, but does he have any other wheeling experience?
He has trail experience for sure, and like overlanding stuff and crawling over stuff, but not hard technical things like the Rubicon, I think.
Right.
I've seen him wheel some stuff in Idaho to get through things, which he did fine in, but I have never known any crawling or technical crawling experience that he's done.
I can only imagine him just being super giddy and have the biggest smile on his face doing some of these things.
He did, even when he got body damage. He still had a bright smile on his face. And we'll get to that.
He got body damage?
A little bit.
Where'd he get body damage at?
You know those like that sharp S turn you got to do above Buck Island, like as you're going up to Big Sluice?
Yep, right. Pretty much where we camped for the our listener run.
Yeah, pretty much right there. He was trying to make his way through those tight boulders, and the boulders were a weird spread this time, and you couldn't get tires on both of them, so you had to pick one. And so he picked the driver's side, and that kind of just leaned his passenger side straight into that boulder. And there wasn't really another line for him. That's just kind of line he had available, and he ended up getting a little bit of body damage, and he ended up getting really, really, really stuck. I don't know if there's any video of it, but he had to winch off my Land Cruiser to get himself through there. At that time, Lee, I don't know where you were. You were probably a couple hundred yards behind. I think you were chatting with somebody.
Well, do you know where Lee Hill is?
Oh, were you doing Lee Hill? Is that what was going on?
That's where I was.
Were you trying to redeem yourself?
I had a 20% chance that I thought I would make it up. But I couldn't pass Lee Hill and not go up it or not attempt it. There were two objectives during the Rubithon, and that was one of them.
The other Supple, huh?
Yes. That's my
he
my
gave
nightmare.
A valiant attempt at
my
Supple,
nightmare.
But it was not close. And I don't know how you tell a guy. I'm spotting him. I'm like, it's not close, Lee. Like, a bump isn't going to make it. There's not a line that's going to make it work. And it was wet. Like, there was 18 inches of water at the bottom, and the middle was filled with water.
Yeah.
It was worse than last time you tried it.
I've still gotten up stuff that you didn't think I was going to get up.
You always amaze me, Lee, and I will give that to you hands down. You do not doubt Lee. He might make it.
That's absolutely true.
My wife had put in, I don't know, 5 or 6 pretty good attempts, and one of them, she was very, very close. And if she just didn't let off a little bit, I think she would have made it. But just with it being wet, it was pretty hard. And actually, all the 4Runner mini truck guys, they drove right by it. Like, they didn't stop. We stopped and we had fun because we were like, yeah, we'll just play around here for a bit and try it.
Yeah, put wheels on it, right?
None of us made it. None of us made it. And I don't think anybody in the group behind us really made it. It was wet. It was hard. You had to have something really built to make it.
I think one of the guys behind us made it. I stayed for a little bit to listen to him, and one of them made it up.
Okay.
Nice.
But yeah.
We'll get it next time.
That's
when
where I
Super Bowl
was.
is wet, it's really hard to get up there because you need a little bit of traction just to get that one tire on the top. But if you'd have no traction, it's no go.
I tried.
That's for sure.
I tried.
What I want to know is when you went to go attempt Lee Hill again, did you just drive straight into the rock or did you actually go the correct way this time?
I didn't smash your high lift handle anymore. I'll send you pictures, but I gave it an attempt.
I still have that high lift sticker for you, by the way, Lee. I'm going to put it right on your tie rod.
I have a Marlin crawler or whatever, Marlin crawler tie rod to replace it with, so Jimmy can get his handle back.
I'll put the high lift sticker on that.
Okay, well, that's fair. We can do that.
Does that mean I'm going to get my handle back?
I don't think it's coming off that far.
I don't think it's coming off either.
No, didn't you already get a pipe to replace it?
I found a pipe that fit into the actuating part of the high lift. That's like a 1/4 inch thick, piece of tubing.
Perfect.
And it's like half the length. So if you have to, it makes it a little bit more difficult, but you get the workout while you're out there.
Okay. Well, I can give it back. Cool. That's fine.
If you can get it off of that tie rod, I'm going to be even more impressed.
That's going to take a lot of pipe work action.
I believe it. If anybody's good at manipulating pipe, it's you.
I'll lay it down.
It was pretty smooth running around after Buck, except for going down Big Sluice everybody said those Patagonias, they slash. And I it was the only tire I could get during COVID that was in a 38. And so I ended up with the Patagonias, and this is like the fourth trip with them. And it put the biggest slash I've ever seen, like instantly in the sidewall of the Patagonia, all the way from the tread to the rim. And
Wow.
we got it swapped pretty quick. I think only 2 trucks passed us while we swapped it. There was a little turnoff off Big Sluice. We were able to pull over and get out of everybody's way. I had my wife drive like 30 yards, basically with the tire dead flat, so we could get out of everybody's way. But with beadlocks, it doesn't really matter. It's fine.
And we skipped Little Sluice.
What happened at Little? Nothing really happened at Little Sluice.
Or we skipped?
You're talking about Old Sluice.
We all
right?
bypassed.
We didn't. Oh, we bypassed Little Sluice. You're right. We bypassed Little Sluice because the rest of the 4Runner mini truck group did, and we were trying to catch them for lunch, but they were finishing up lunch.
That made me sad.
We could have done it.
It's gnarly right now.
I think it's because Stellar Built caught us, and they didn't want to take the 200 through it. That's why we decided to go around it.
Still made me sad.
We could have done it. I would have done it with you.
Everybody went around. I was the last one.
You could have done it. I wouldn't have doubted you for a second if you just turned that way and headed up there.
You had a radio, didn't you?
Yeah, I had a radio, but I don't want to be stuck on my own.
Somebody could have came down and helped you.
Probably would have come back and helped me, but the whole group went around, so I was like, fine.
Actually, everybody eating lunch would have walked down and watched you for sure, because they were all eating lunch right there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, that's a nasty, nasty little thing, and last year I didn't make it through, so I don't know why.
Yeah.
I didn't have much confidence of making it through this year.
It's even worse this year. Some of the big rocks have been moved into spots that aren't easy to get around. You would have had a lot of fun trying.
Probably would have broke
never
something.
doubt, Lee.
Yeah, never doubt, Lee. I believe in you. I believe in you and that white whale.
I need to make that a sticker.
There you go. So you got a flat, but then you cruise the rest of the way to the springs. Nothing, no issues from there?
Zero issues. We made good time. I was actually really impressed with the time we made. I think we were at the springs by like 5 or 6 o'clock or something, and we didn't actually put tires on the trail till like 8. And we were running at a real leisure pace, just kind of doing our own thing, whatever we wanted. So, for Dave's first time on the trail, Lee being on 35s in an overland rig, like, we made great time.
There you go.
We had a blast and made great time with zero issues besides a flat tire.
Awesome. That sounds great. And then the event was spectacular from what I've been hearing and what Tyler told us. How was your guys' trip out from the springs after the event?
It was really good. There was a mini adventure going out to Buck on, what was that?
Oh, yeah.
Friday? Saturday?
On Saturday.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun.
With you and Tyler went out there?
Yeah. And I don't know why, but going with Tyler, I hit everything and got stuck all the time, and tried to drove over giant rocks and got stuck at the top of Big Sluice.
That photo is epic, by the way. That is an epic photo. I put it in a reel this week just because I think it's amazing.
Yeah,
right.
You pretty much just turtled yourself on top of this thing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how you picked that line. Like, that was not a line. I'm looking at that photo like, how did this happen? That's not a line.
I didn't even know that giant rock was there, that it was
that
a thing.
Explains it.
How? It's a giant rock.
I don't know. I have no answer.
My only question is, or my only thought is that you were on Tyler's rear end so close that you did not see what was coming in front of you. And you were kind of just following his line, and you ended up with like your front 2 tires off the ground, sitting on a skid plate.
Nope. Tyler went up, and I didn't see him finish it, and I forgot that giant rock was there, and just didn't turn sharp enough, and just crawled over it, and then felt it, and was like, "Oh, this isn't good." And then I tried to reverse back, and the back end kept rotating and the front end wasn't pulling anywhere. I was like, "Hey, Tyler, I did a thing."
And how those Delta skid plates hold up?
It's fantastic. The whole front end of my undercarriage, I have no no worries about hitting on anything anymore.
So every Land Cruiser FJ80 owner should get some Delta products.
If they want a skid plate, they can land on anything. Then yeah,
including a small
leaf-proof.
Volkswagen Bug.
yeah, it's like a little flat belly now.
That's cool.
While he was gone,
Yeah.
I was hanging out at camp, and it was kind of a nice time to relax. My wife and I don't get a lot of opportunity without the kids. It's actually our first trip ever without the kids. So we just hung around the springs, swam in the water. A guy hiked into the springs with a tie rod in hand that was broken off a XJ. It's saying, anybody have a welder? And I was like, I got a welder. So I said, I'm not willing to do any work because it's a vacation day for me, but I'll weld it. So if you do all the prep work, I'll weld it. And he was totally stoked on that deal. And so he did all the prep work. I welded it for him, and he kept bending the sheet of metal just to kind of reinforce it around the tie rod as I welded it together. And it turned out real nice. And then I got to watch a diff be assembled in the dirt. We called it diffs in the dirt. And that was pretty cool. It was actually my idea to stick one end in the freezer and boil the other one. And I think they liked that.
Yeah.
They liked that idea. And it actually worked for about half a second. So it went like maybe a third of the way on easy, and then just jammed up. As soon as the materials were like trying to equalize temperature, it just solidified on there, and they had to hammer that thing on pretty hard. But it was cool to watch somebody do that. That doesn't happen often. Oh, I also got to help work on a steering box. I thought I solved a leak by working on it, but I heard next day it started leaking again after I thought I fixed it. So that was sad. I thought I fixed the steering box on the trail for somebody.
That would have been fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang. So your relaxation day didn't actually sound like a whole lot of relaxation.
It actually, when you don't have your kids, it actually was really relaxing. It was relaxing being only responsible for myself for the day, to be honest.
There you go.
Because usually when we're camping, we're just trying to keep a 1-year-old alive and a 5-year-old's running around. And it just makes things hectic. But we try to do it because we know as soon as we get the 1-year-old gets past this point, we're going to be golden. And because the 5-year-old's a lot of fun out there. But,
yes.
Yeah. So one weekend without the kids was great. And everything being hosted and just the camaraderie around everything that's going on at Rubithon was great. Everybody's so nice. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you guys had a blast. I wanted to move on and we could talk about your guys' next weekend because you both went wheeling the following weekend, this one of the previous weekends here. And you guys wheeled Slick Rock Trail. There was the what club runs the poker run out there, Nick?
The Joaquin Jeepers, and I am a Joaquin Jeeper.
Okay. Where are they based out of?
They're based out of Stockton.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And it's not just the Jeep Club. Our president drives a first-gen 4Runner. Our vice president drives an old Bronco. I joined the club just because Slick Rock is their adopted trail, and Slick Rock is my favorite trail. It was probably the first real technical trail I wheeled 9 years ago. And ever since then, I was like, I want to protect this trail. I'm probably the youngest member of the club by like 20 years. So I really need to get our generation involved in these clubs because from what I'm seeing, we're not stepping up. And these clubs really do a lot of work with the National Forest Service. And they definitely keep these trails open. And I think our generation just kind of enjoys the trails being open. It doesn't realize the work that actually goes into keeping them open. And these old clubs, while they're boring, like the meetings are really boring. You have to go over treasurer notes and all this stuff. And it's, they run it very old school. I think it is important that our generation shows up and takes over these clubs because they need to keep going.
Well, we need to do something to keep the trails open. Whether it's that kind of format or something else, definitely need to step up and keep these kind of things open.
Please do.
Which the podcast, the Snail Trail podcast, does a lot for awareness, but we need more local groups to do what they can and adopt a trail. The Snail Trail can't adopt all of them.
Definitely. Yeah, I think our generation needs to learn more about becoming like a nonprofit status and working with the Forest Service and raising funds that go to the trails. And I think that's missing from the social media groups.
Oh, 100%. Social media groups just go out there, massive amount of people, and go to take some photos so they can get more.
They do pick up trash sometimes. I see lots of trash pickups, which is good.
Heck, yeah, probably. I don't know too much about that that side of things. I'm not a club member. I'm a member of one club, the Slow County Crawlers, but I'm nowhere near Slow County, so I'm not ever really a part of it. I just come out and help out on the Rubicon whenever they usually do that maintenance. And then, I don't follow. I'm not really a part of any of the social media clubs, but I am a social media person, so I don't know how that all works. So what is the poker run like? Tell us about that and how that, do you know any of the history of how it came about or how it started? Okay. Yeah. Lead us in.
The club has always done a big crowd feed as the fundraiser annually. And the crowd feed is our biggest fundraiser, still is our biggest fundraiser. And that's how it generates money. The money goes towards projects on the trail, keeps trails open, specifically Slick Rock. About a year and a half ago, one of our members, Cindy, who's our treasurer, she believed we should do a poker run after all these other clubs are doing poker runs as fundraisers. And the club supported it. I think it's a great idea. I actually like it a lot more than the crab feed. While it doesn't generate as much money, I think it gets the club's presence out there to the rest of the four-wheel drive society. And really makes the club known that this is our trail and we're raising money to take care of it. And it also brings newbies out on the trail and teaches them the lines and how to respect the trail. This was the second year we've done it, and I think it was a big success. We had 90 trucks, 90 spots available, 3 groups of 30. And we decided to run the trail downhill because if you got to get 90 rigs through, downhill is the way to go.
Yes.
And right.
Especially
like if you
that gauntlet. Yeah.
The gauntlet is tough. And that's actually where a lot of the money that is being fundraised will go, because I don't know if listeners are around the area, but there was a huge dispute that happened with Slick Rock a couple of years ago. A new landowner bought the land next to it. We realized the trail actually ran on their property. They didn't want it there anymore. They gave us a couple of years to come up with a plan to get it off their property. The plan had to be approved by the National Forest Service. It was a huge deal. They agreed on a new route, but part of that new route had to be that these obstacles on the new route had to have bypasses. And so the gauntlet still doesn't have a bypass, which it's supposed to have. So we need funds to raise money to build the bypass for the gauntlet, which I don't know how. I could feel either way about that, whether or not you should make bypasses on trails, but it's required. And so that's where the money will go, because the gauntlet is very difficult. And especially right now, it's super dug out. Like, we tried the wheel it a few weeks ago and it was raining. That added a little bit of complication, but it's very dug out right now. Super hard to get up. My wife had to winch up it. Pretty much everybody winched up it that we were out there with. When you're climbing big 4-foot ledges and they're wet, it's impossible.
Sounds fun though.
It was a lot of fun.
Cool. So what is a poker run for those that might not know? I mean, are you literally just driving out in the middle of nowhere and then sit down and play a game of poker, or what? How's that work?
You get handed poker hands. So throughout the run, you're going to pick cards, and by the end of the run, that will be your poker hand. And whoever has the best poker hand walks away with some money out of the pot. And I think Lee's kid actually won second place, and which was pretty cool to see. I think he walked away with like $100 or more. And as a kid, I think that's amazing. You know, if I got $100 going to an event with my dad, I'd be stoked. I don't think he had to pay the buy-in either.
Yeah, Kohei won the raffle. I forget what his hand was, but I think he had a 4 of a kind, a 5s or something like that.
Wow.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah, that's a really good hand.
Yeah, I think Cena had 4 aces. The guy in the GX 470. So
460.
our group did 460.
Isn't he's the same guy that was on the Rubithon run?
He came to Rubithon too, yeah.
That's cool.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, he wheels well.
Yeah, he does. He's a pretty good wheeler. And when we first saw his rig, we are like, oh no, this is going to be the one that we're going to have to pay attention to. And he did fine.
Well, that is true. He did get stuck a lot and had to.
He did get stuck.
And needed help, but I don't know if it was his fault.
Okay.
So I think he wheeled well with what he had.
There you go. How do you limit, this question's mainly for Nick. How do you limit the cards? I mean, what if somebody brought their own deck of cards?
No, so the cards are drawn out of the hands of the person that's hosting at each location where the cards are. You
Sure.
don't keep the card either. They just write the card you got down.
Okay. You keeping track with what's written down.
Yeah.
So Senna was running around just giving people 20s to ask for another ace or something
Possible.
like that. Yeah.
Probably hundreds.
Yeah. Okay. Why? Because you were giving 20s and they're only giving you 5s?
I give him 20 and they wouldn't do anything. But I think he was giving him like a gold coin or something.
Just to be clear, the Joaquin Jeepers plays it straight. We're all joking.
Uh-huh. Lexus money.
Wait, so Nick, is your 80 an actual 80 or is it a Lexus?
My 80 is an actual 80. It's a Land
Okay.
Cruiser. Yeah. Lee's is not a real 80.
No. The chassis code still says 80.
Does it say FJ80 on there? Interesting.
Yes. FZJ80
FZJ80,
is still in the VIN. So it's still an 80,
even though it's a Lexus.
even though I have the pink panties.
There you go.
Which I'm confused because mine had the wood trim interior and leather factory. So, like, what was the difference between mine and the real Lexus version other than the plastic cladding on the side?
That's another podcast, Nick.
Yeah, you should go on the Cruise into Camp podcast and they can talk to you about that.
He won't have me on.
No,
I'm
Yeah,
banned from the Cruise into
I
Camp
don't blame him.
podcast.
Did you drive Rubithon?
No, but I drove Slick Rock. I wasn't signed up for Rubithon. Lisa signed up for Rubithon while I was at King of the Hammers.
I wasn't signed up for Rubithon.
You took Jimmy's spot.
yeah. And what did Dave just renegated in and then pay
He
for
did.
the event when he got there? Cool.
He donated to the raffle, I think, was his contribution.
There you
And
go.
he paid. He talked to Ross,
Okay, cool.
and he paid his way in. But it's not like it
Gotcha.
mattered.
How was the poker run for you, Lee? Was this your first poker run ever? What did you think of the event?
Not my first poker run, I guess. I did one at, I think, the last Surf and Turf at Oceana Dunes. But it was my most recent Jeep run. I hadn't done a Jeep run since I had a first-gen 4Runner. And they're painful
Why? What do you mean by Jeep run and why is it painful?
because they're slow.
Okay.
And I like the small groups, be able to just run through a trail. And then if something seems interesting, go check it out and party on that line and then move on. But
Sure.
there's a lot of waiting. And I
Hurry
understand
up and
why.
waiting.
And I understand because it's a big group. It's just not my favorite.
Yeah, I think a lot of events that's the problem to some extent. Like I never used to go to events ever, and I would avoid them because I don't want to wheel when there's a bunch of people out on the trail. I don't want to have to, like as Nick said, hurry up and wait to go to any obstacle or anything to do. And like I would like to try the harder line and not cause a bunch of people to have to wait for me. So I used to avoid them all the time.
Right.
Being more of a, E-list celebrity or whatever the assistant calls me. I feel like I do need to go out to some of these events and show face and, get some interviews or shoot some YouTube video or something, not that there's a lot of YouTube video on my end going on these days, but I think that going out to the events is a good way to get recognized or, to show, your support as an influencer to some extent. So that's why I've been going to them lately. Plus they are fun and they're good networking.
Oh yeah. I feel like when we go to Cruise Moab, it works out and it doesn't feel like you're waiting for a ton of other rigs to get through, at least for us. And maybe it's the trails that we pick out to go on that makes it like that.
I think at Cruise Moab though, also there's so many trails happening all at once. There's like 6 trails a day for 3 days that people can choose to go on. And so the 100 so on rigs that are there get divided up every single day into different runs.
Yeah. I understand why it happens and how it happens, but a smaller group running through that trail is way more fun for me.
Sure.
But then you don't get to meet as many people. You don't get the barbecue at the end and the raffle and all of those things. So it's just a part of the event, which is a great event. And I was happy to be there. and contribute.
Yeah,
what I could.
yeah. And so is part of an event people like breaking? What happens when people are out on the trail and possibly break a sway bar? Was it?
Yes.
Yeah, Lee broke a sway bar link, but only after we waited for a Jeep that had lost a fuel pump to get pulled out of the way. We were sitting there for a while, and then we finally got back in the rigs and started up again. And I'm walking right behind Lee's rig, and there's this loud bang. It sounded like a gunshot. I was standing like 8 feet behind his truck while my wife drove the Land Cruiser, and I was like, what the heck? And all of a sudden, there's something laying on the ground. At first, I thought it was his lower link, but the axle looked like it was in place, and I kind of stuck my head under there a little bit, and I was like, oh, it's your sway bar. Pull off the obstacle, get past it, and let's get it off. So that's exactly what happened. He pulled forward. I jumped out of my truck, grabbed my wrenches, and laid under there. I had it out in like 2 minutes, maybe a minute, something like
Yeah,
that.
I was trying to take pictures, and he was already done.
I already had it out.
Yeah, and it wasn't even an obstacle.
There's a
No.
little flexi section in between
That was-
obstacles.
There was a little flex involved, but it wasn't anything I had to pay attention to.
Where was it?
Yeah.
I don't know slip rock terribly well. I've only done it once.
Above the rock garden, or the S turn is what they call it, right above there, there's a V notch that kind of, if you take it straight down the middle, it flexes your truck out pretty good, kind of crosses you up a bit. And that's right where Lee was, literally in the middle of that when it snapped the sway bar. It was just too much flex.
Wow. Too much flex, Lee. What are you going to do?
I don't know. It's advertised as a heavy duty sway bar, so
Have you seen those new, is it Apex sway bars? The ones that have an easy disconnect?
Yeah, for the front of IFS rigs, those look sick. If I was still running a front sway bar on my Tacoma, I'd run it.
Yeah.
I like my, I don't see a problem with sway bar crawling or off-roading.
It limits travel.
So I've lifted my front end with a and connected and disconnected the sway bar, and I only lost half an inch when I connecting and disconnecting the sway bar. And I feel like it also keeps your rig more level going through off-camber stuff, right?
It definitely does. It does. Do
Yeah.
that.
And then Nate from Dirt Lifestyle has the argument that if you are flexed out, it helps keep that axle that's high up in the air, putting pressure down on the rock to gain more traction.
Okay. So sacrifice a half inch to gain more traction and be level.
Yeah,
I've never had sway bars, so I have no idea.
right. I've mostly kept sway bars on for most everything until recently. I had a front and a rear sway bar, and I don't think anybody else that has 35s without sway bars has gotten up anything that I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's a problem. Maybe it is. It's still in the air, but I definitely enjoy having a sway bar going fast, whether it's through the desert or on the street.
Definitely on the road. Having sway bars on the street make complete sense. And if your application it's only a half an inch difference in travel, I think it makes sense to have them on then as well. Did you, in this instance, when you broke your sway bar, you just broke one side, so did you just leave the other side on for the rest of the run?
Yeah, so I'd say 3/4 of the sway bar was left on, and Nick pulled the other side for me.
Okay.
Because it broke at the so if it's a U shape, it broke at the 90 degree of the U at the passenger side.
Okay.
But past the mount,
Right.
of the axle side mount, so you could just pull the frame side mount with the sway bar, and it would just rotate like no sway bar was there.
Correct. Yeah. So did you have to drive home that way? Kind of future casting here.
I did.
How
And
was
I hated it.
that street performance?
It's terrible.
Was it?
Yeah. I mean,
Driving
it
a boat?
works. Yeah. No, I mean, I just kind of made sure when you're going through a turn that you load up the suspension slowly and smoothly. And that's I think the only major thing is you have to load the suspension smoothly and unload the suspension smoothly coming in and out of turns.
If you accelerate too hard, though, you might pull a wheel off, and that's kind of pretty cool.
That's a possibility since my front sway bar is off right now, too.
Yeah. I've done that in Bobcat, and I was wearing brown pants after I did it. It was not fun. I was showing off back in my early years. Geez, I was probably 28 at the time or something like that, and took a corner way too fast and pulled a wheel all the way off the ground, 3 tires in this corner, and everybody thought it was awesome. And I was like, I'm never going to go that fast around a corner ever again.
Was this in Bobcat?
Yeah, Bobcat. I've had Bobcat for almost 20 years.
I know. That's amazing.
Yeah, I know. And it's been in its current state, like more or less current status, like set up for at least the last like 10, if not a little longer, maybe 12.
Yeah, so, it's such a good setup.
I've had a lot of seat time in that rig. I know it fairly well. Anyways, let's going back to Nick. Let's talk a little bit about the San Joaquin Jeepers and the poker run. Going back to that, how did the event go for you guys?
It went really well. So yeah, got all the rigs through. Had one with a blown transfer case. It was a new Jeep JL, I think. Blew the transfer case and had to get pulled off the trail. So that was kind of a bummer. But other than that, that fuel pump got fixed and got pulled off he drove off the trail. And so getting 90 trucks through with relatively small issues. And even the JL that blew the transfer case, one of our members used their AAA to get that guy home.
Wow.
So the club got that guy home. We hosted the raffle, did the barbecue, fed 250 people out there, and it was sprinkling on and off, but it actually wasn't really raining right when we did the raffle and food, so that worked out well. We had a ton of raffle prizes. I would say almost an annoying amount of raffle prizes. I think that next year we'll probably try to consolidate into larger prizes. Every member has to donate a prize of a certain value, and having 30-something plus members just created a lot of prizes, and it made the raffle go on and on. I think my recommendation next year is that we combine some of those into larger raffle items. But we also had some great sponsors that came on. Falcon donated stuff. We had Morphlate donate a bunch of stuff, a compressor and gift cards, which was really amazing. We had Power Tank donate a bunch of stuff, which was awesome. And Glue Tread donated some repair kits and hats. And so just see all these sponsors come on and do some donations that brought in more cash donations that all fund the trail and pay for the gauntlet reroute, pay to keep the bridge painted, pay to get the bridge. We need to do the foundation on the bridge again. It's wearing away again, needs new wood. We need new signage because a bunch of the signage is rotting away. It'll fund all that stuff. And it was just really amazing to see everybody come to the event, come support the trail, come sponsor the event. I think it turned out really well. We had some great feedback while we were there. And yeah, there are things like Lee said, where when you come to a run with 90 trucks, you're going to sit and wait. It's not going to be a fun experience for just hanging out with your buddies and running through the trail real quick. You're going to be sitting, hanging out and chatting with people and watch people do stuff, because 90 trucks on one trail it's a lot of trucks, and that's the way that's going to be. But everybody came out with a good attitude and knew that they were there to fund the trail. It wasn't really about just wheeling for the day.
That's awesome. Yeah. Where did you guys host the feeding, the food? Was that at an event or was it just at the trailhead on the other side?
Yeah, it was at the Utica Reservoir side on the huge granite slab over there.
Okay.
We park a big gooseneck trailer there and kind of use that as a stage. And then the club has a giant barbecue trailer that they use to cook all the food.
Oh, cool. Nice. What was served?
We had tri-tip and a bunch of different types of sausages, and there was salad and
green beans,
pasta and green beans and cookies and all kinds of stuff.
That's awesome. Sounds delicious. I'm sad I missed that, at least the meal, if not the event and Rubithon, all the above. It sucks having other responsibilities sometimes.
You're missed.
Nick, how can people get more information about the poker run or about the club?
So yeah, the Joaquin Jeepers Facebook page is probably the best place to get information about the run and the group. It's a public Facebook page. You can just ask to be invited to join, and all the information's there. A lot of Slick Rock information is there. So if you're looking for updates as to when the trail will open, that's where a lot of the communication was going on early in the season. When people were saying, why isn't Slick Rock open? Why isn't it open? Because a lot of people love the trail, and we were able to communicate with people and explain why it wasn't open yet. It was due to the National Forest Service wasn't giving us permission to go in and open it. So it wasn't us. It's just the way it was this year. It was a late opening. But yeah, that's the best place to get the information on the trail.
And you said it earlier, but why don't you also tell us again how people can get a hold of you or follow along with your remodel of your Tacoma build?
Mademan925 on Instagram is probably the best place to reach me. It's Mademan like you're in the Mafia, not Madman. A lot of people like to do Madman. It's not Madman. It's Mademan. When you're a Mademan in the Mafia, you're untouchable. It's from video games back like when Xbox was released. There was the Godfather game. You became a Mademan. It became my username. And the phone area code where I live, 925. So Mademan925 is the best place to reach me. And yeah, I'll be working on my Tacoma and my Jeep and my Land Cruiser constantly, always. It's my passion.
Yes, it is. And you do some fun builds, and you do some good, like sort of how-tos sometimes about some of your what you're working on. So that's a lot of fun. And I think I even called it Mad Band one time, didn't I?
A bunch of people have. Usually people do.
Okay.
Until I correct them.
Yeah.
For some reason, your mind just skips the E in there.
Got it. Yeah. Lee, do you have anything else you'd like to add about your Slick Rock run or the winning of $100? What did the kiddo want to do with that $100 cash prize?
Still not sure what he wants to do with a $100 cash prize, but it's now available to him. Slick Rock was a lot of fun. Super happy to help keep that trail open. It's definitely a fun trail in our area that I would like to keep doing more often. So if they can keep that going, that's great. You know, there's only so many trails of that caliber in this area to get on.
Absolutely. I want to do that Con, whatever they called it, run back when the High Sierra 4x4 guys were joking about it, where they do the Fordyce, Rubicon, what is it? Blue. Why can't I remember the name? Oh, Deer Valley, and then Slick Rock. And then you could hit, maybe get down there towards Doozy at some point. Niagara Rim and then Doozy. I want to do that whole thing at one one day. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Anyway,
in one day. Wait, Rubicon,
no. Not
Fordyce, Slick Rock in one day.
No, one of these days I want to do those trails in one go, not one day.
One trip.
I want to do them in multiple days, one trip.
How many of those could we do in one day?
Well,
you could definitely do Slick Rock and Deer Valley in a day, and probably Barrett.
Maybe,
but I don't. Yeah, I mean, you could do Rubicon in one day, but I don't think you're doing more than that. And you're definitely not doing Doozy in a day. Like Doozy in a day, I don't even know that's possible. It's like Doozy is the one trail I haven't run, so that's on my bucket list. I know it's a time commitment.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Fordyce, Slick Rock, and Rubicon in one day?
No, I can't. It's not. I couldn't do it.
They're a bit far apart in a way. Also, though. So to go from Slick Rock, you'd really want to do Deer Valley because that leads you over to 89. And then you can do the 89 over to 50. Oh, then you could do Strawberry Pass and then go over to 50 and then hit Rubicon.
All right, Jimmy, draw it out. Let's go. Let's go on a trip. Like I'll take a week off work in 2024.
Okay.
We'll do it all.
I'm not sure if a week's enough time.
Snail,
a 24-hour run.
4x4 adventure. No. We'll make mistakes. We go 24 hours a day.
No. We should make it a 24-hour run to see if we can
see who gets the furthest.
We should make it a 9-day trip and then try and connect it all and run all of them. I'm down. 2024. Put it on the calendar.
All right. Sounds good. I do know that the guys at High Sierra 4x4 wanted to try to complete Fordyce and Rubicon in one day, and they tried it a few times and never completed it. They always broke because I think they're just trying too hard, going too fast. Yeah. Because they're concerned about time more than the longevity of their vehicle. But both of the, I mean, even just wheeling Fordyce all the way through is a day, a solid day. I mean, even if you if you started at Eagle Lakes and you drove to Meadow Lake, that is a solid day of wheeling. And then to go hit the Rubicon, which is, I think I could wheel the entire Rubicon in like 4 to 5 hours. So, I mean,
I can't do it that fast.
That's a lot of time right there. And then you got to hit Strawberry Pass, Deer Valley, Slick Rock, all these other trails. I'm down. I'll figure it out. I think it'd be fun.
Let's do it.
I like a 9-day trip.
9 days. Because that's one work week.
Lee needs 2 days and 48 hours.
2-day trip.
And 2 drivers.
One driver.
You're going to fall asleep in the passenger seat, but...
One driver.
That's that like 24 hours to hell and back or whatever. That just doesn't look fun. They're asleep like half of it. It doesn't look fun. I want to have fun. 9 days of like the super hard trails, wheeling every day. That would be amazing.
Fun comes from pain.
Fun comes from pain. Put that on a sticker, Lee.
On the 8th day, Lee, you will be tired. I guarantee it.
No, we're doing in 2 days.
Okay, why don't you go pre-run it in 2 days and then come join us?
Slick Rock, Fordyce, and Rubicon.
There's like 5 trails in there, Lee. Fordyce, Rubicon, Strawberry Pass, Deer Valley. Then we go to
Doozy.
Slick Rock, then Niagara Rim, and then Doozy. 7
so
trails.
We have 4 days available, but we do it in 2 days.
I don't think we could even do it in 2 days. I'm down to try. Let's see what that white. I'd take your sway bars off, but let's,
They're off.
Let me know how it goes, guys.
All right. You can just meet us at Doozy, and we'll, by that time, we'll have expired our time limit, and we can wheel Doozy all slow and like relaxed.
Well, I don't know about Doozy because Doozy's 30 miles. I've heard that's slow.
30 miles in one day.
No, well, yeah. Well, Doozy in one day, sure.
I've heard Doozy is 3 to 5 days, but you can do it as short as 2. And I've never done it, but I don't think I'd want to try to do it in 2 days. I'd probably want to do it in 3 days at least.
I'm not worried about Doozy. I'm worried about Slick Rock, Fordyce, and Rubicon. How fast can you do those 3?
Rubicon and Slick Rock well. I'm not worried about those. I'm not worried about Barrett. I've run Barrett in my IFS Tacoma. Now, Fordyce, that's another story.
I don't know Fordyce.
Well, my wife has more experience on it than me now.
Your wife has more experience in your Land Cruiser than you do.
That's true, 100%. This summer was about getting Lisa behind the wheel of the truck on big rocks. That's what she wanted to do, and I supported it. So if you have a wife that's interested in the hobby and she wants to do rock crawling all summer, you just say, let's go, and you spot her and take photos and have fun.
Perfect. I love it. Lee, why don't you tell everybody how they can get a hold of you if they have any questions about Land Cruisers or podcasting or Solve Function?
So Solve Function at the website, solvefunction.com, Solve Function on Instagram. The podcast / debauchery is at Cruising to Camp, which is also the podcast, which completely dedicated to Land Cruisers, and those are released when I feel like it, I guess.
It's been a while since there's been one, Lee.
Yes, it has. I would rather wheel than release podcasts.
Ouch.
And that's how that goes.
Was that a pointed comment there, Lee?
No, it wasn't a pointed comment. That's just where I am at.
All right. I agree with that to some small extent. All right, time for Tyler's favorite part of this episode, which is final words. Nick, do you have any final words for everybody out there?
Get out there and wheel, I think, is all. And just have fun and enjoy your trucks.
There you go. Lee, how about you? Any final words?
Put your wheels on it before you tell yourself you can't do it.
Don't just high center yourself. And with that, my friends, keep crawling.
I've only ever had one dad joke, and it's what's brown and sticky?
What
A
is it?
stick.
A stick.
Yeah. Good one.
It's classic.
Yep.